Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So since somehow, thanks to sheer magic and luck, I have actually been doing quite well in the battlegrounds, and since quite a lot of you have been asking me for, on the stream, show me your deck. I do know, I don't typically do that on the first date, but here I am. Currently I'm actually somehow managed to get in c4. I'm sure that's going to change. I'm going to be really happy to finish c5, all things being said and done. And obviously, as the season's going to come to an end and get much more competitive. But despite all that, genuinely have been, doing quite well. Surprisingly so. So I didn't really see that coming myself either. And there you go. So I'm going to explain my deck and my choices and some potential alternatives and changes that I might be making, because I do think I'll end up ranking up a couple of champions, but I still kind of want to see what my Titan opening is going to be before I commit to my next rank 4. And then there's obviously going to be Wheel of Fate that's going to have another rank 4, and we're going to see what happens with that. But I'm actually using also a handful of 6 stars in my deck, which just shows to how broken some of the new additions have been. So we're going to go over each class, and effectively I'm going to explain my MVPs and, how well they are doing. And here the most unusual champion is Luke Cage, and Luke Cage is actually kind of sick in this meta, and he's doing quite well, and he can take some random matches that many people wouldn't think he can. Like, for instance, he can take down Photon reasonably well. Not the fastest, but he does have that extra party trick of just eating a level 2 or level 3 to the face if you haven't used the immortality, and you can kind of be more aggressive than you normally would. And your concussions then effectively significantly slow down her debuffs on you. So that's quite nice. Silk's doing fantastic. Obviously, Silk Lock is still a thing, and she can do a ton of champions. And Photon's been irreplaceable. She's still a very, very tough defender, without a doubt. And offensively, she's quite good as well, because she heavily mitigates the Conflictor node, so you can be more aggressive with her than with many other champions. So that just kind of finishes up for my science class. I'm not running Titania in this meta. Maybe I should. And I'm also not running the Piggy in this meta. So those are 2 potential champions I would kind of consider. Now to the skill class, obviously we do have Crossbones, and Crossbones is there again primarily for the Photons, but in general it's quite nice to have, because you can still end up using him for Gentle, for instance. He's very good Gentle counter, and he also switches off the node itself whenever he gets enough Furies. I'm not necessarily the best Crossbones player in the world, but he does his job. I have my little rank 3 Nick Fury there. I'm not using him a ton. I feel like I would be using him more if he was rank 4, but we'll get to that in a bit. Then we have Yelena. Yelena's doing, just fine in this meta. She, can be taken down with a handful of champions, and some people have started kind of like directly bringing in counters for her. But overall, she's still quite nasty. She's not like the most dangerous defender in the meta, but she's doing fairly fine. Even, as a 6 star, she can stall out fights very well. And, she does get banned quite often too. So there's that. And Okoye. Okoye is not the best for this meta, I'd say, because, again, the debuff shrugging and opponent gaining extra power do kind of hinder with her. But once you do get into that Okoye lock as well, spamming your level 1s, you can bring in just about anything that you can freely attack. And still one of the best bullseye counters, even in this meta. And considering how rough Bullseye is to deal with, and she's also a very good Yelena counter, so it's very, very useful to have. Now, Baron Zemo and Lumitrix. Now, neither one of these champions I'm so. Now, Baron Zemo is just not big enough as a 6 star. He can cause a lot of problems for people. He can win rounds. But again, if opponent gets somebody like Jugs or something, then, typically it's kind of game over situation where he can get nuked in like 20-some seconds. So you do need to be careful when you use him, but he can absolutely, stop some people as well. And he does reasonably well against Photons, even in this meta, so I do like that. You can do, even rank 4 Photons with him, if all goes well, somewhat decently well. And Lumitrix. Lumitrix has a very similar problem. If Jugs gets his hands on Lumitrix, he goes down like a sack of potatoes. Other than that, because he's a tactic defender, him effectively throwing his any special, then getting invisibility and unblockable, is making fights significantly more tricky. At the same time, He is perfectly capable of doing some random matchups as well that I do like, for instance, against Sentinels or Red Skulls and stuff like that. So he's still there, but Zemo and Lumitrix I'm kind of looking at potentially replacing as well at some point. One of the options could potentially be Havoc as Betsy counter, because she's becoming more and more present at the moment. But yeah, my Captain Britain has been putting in so much work on defense. Then we have obviously Bullseye, very very nasty in this meta. Then moving on, Onslaught. Onslaught is doing fine. He's not exceptional. He's slightly slower than he normally is offensively, but he can still do most of the matchups. And defensively, again, he's slightly more annoying, unless opponent obviously gets like a very very good counter. He's alright. He's not like an MVP, I would say. He's just there. Then Domino, obviously incredibly dangerous. Very, very worth to have, because without a good counter, she's an absolute menace. Then you have Bishop. Bishop is one of those catch defenders as well, because you primarily do want to have Bishop when opponent doesn't have a tech champion, or at the very least tech that doesn't do energy damage. Because if they do, he's gonna go down fairly quickly too. If opponent has Red Skull, even without using special attacks, he goes down fairly quick. If opponent has Starhand Spider-Man, something like that, he's gonna go down fast. Just about anything else though will take fairly significant amount of damage against Bishop, and again he's quite handy to catch people with. And then not to mention, he can do some of the matchups offensively too. He's not necessarily the best, but he works for like random Korgs and the like. So now we have Negasonic. Negasonic is actually one of the MVPs this meta, and that is due to two reasons. Number one is her passive stance, and everything being passive absolutely destroys, and so you can stand quite easily. And against skill champions specifically, she also reduces opponent's bleed evade and true effects by 100%. And the key aspect here is bleed. So opponents, when you're fighting against skill champions, will get no power like ever fighting against her, because they will not trigger the node bleed. So that is tremendously helpful. Alright. And yeah, she nukes the bullseyes, and she does very, very well. And then we have Dust. Dust is very annoying in this meta, because every time, if she's awakened Dust is very annoying, I should say, because Dust has the signature ability where whenever Dust prevents bleed effect via immunity, there is, in my case, 60% chance to inflict 1 sun debuff on the opponent. So basically, whenever you're aggressive against Dust, opponent's gonna get randomly hit with a sandstorm. You can counter it by applying like lots of incinerate effects, but vast majority of champions will end up taking some damage against Dust. That's why she's doing very, very well. Then we have Betsy. Betsy in this meta is kind of supercharged as a defender, and it's one of those things where I do want people to understand that Captain Britain is not going to be as good of a defender as she appears right now. She is as good of a defender as she appears right now because she puts bleeds on herself. And that automatically puts neuroshocks on the opponent. And then, obviously she will have her defensive challenge. She's not going to be like garbage to defender by any means, but, the node is making her tougher on defense. Very important. And then we have Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister's fine. He's a bit more finicky than normal on defense because, when he gets bleeds on himself, you have to be extra careful from the level 1. But, there's a fair amount of tech champs running around, so he's not like the biggest MVP either. But he can still do bullseye relatively well in this meta, so that's helpful. The Cosmic Champions, again, very kind of back to basics, bare bones. We do have Thanos, we do have Dark Phoenix, and we do have Serpent. All three of whom are doing very, very good job. I do end up banning Thanos a significant portion of the time, especially if opponent has rank 4 though. So I don't get to use him all that much. Now my techs, it's Red Skull, phenomenal. Both great defender and very solid offensively this meta too, especially against Domino. Like a very solid, sturdy option. Then we have Starhand Spider-Man. Does almost all of his matchups well. Like, you can still do Photon and a whole bunch of things with Starhand Spider-Man. The one thing where he does struggle more than, well, he can't do this meta properly, that would be Bullseye because of all the extra power gain. But other than Bullseye matchup, he's still perfectly fine. Then I do have Prowler. Again, you know, solid domino counter, can do some of the techs as well. And yeah, relatively decent. I can't say he's been one of my MVPs, but he kind of has earned the spot. Then we have Jack-o'-lantern. Jack-o'-lantern then there is obviously as an alternate domino counter as well, and additionally to that, he is just about the best option for Captain Britain now, and whenever we do face that, he's super helpful, and he has more useful matchups like, you know, Dust and whatnot. And then the Mystics. Here, honestly, I'm kind of thinking of maybe getting rid of Kushala, we'll see. Kushala hasn't been doing the best this meta. You can use her, you know, fine, but opponent getting that extra power, and then you needing to be extra careful to trigger the conflictor before you drop your specials. She just isn't doing like as well in this meta, but you know, that's okay. Then we do have Shatter and Tiger in my case, because both of them are rank 4. They do get banned quite a lot, but Tiger is just about the best Serpent counter, I'd say, in this meta, or one of the best. Jugs is, you know, phenomenal offensively still, because you can just full on nuke a ton of champions, you know, with baiting a single special attack or without baiting any specials at times. And then there's Enchantress. Enchantress is more annoying than usual as well in this match. Now, some things that I'm quote unquote missing or I'm considering right now would be Titania, as I mentioned before. Havoc. I do think Havoc is better defender than he normally would be, because he gets Bleeds on himself. And also because he gets extra power gain, and also because he is very, very good Betsy counter. So Havoc's probably going to get into the deck very, very soon now. Besides Havoc, I did use Omega Red for a bit, but he just wasn't quite potent enough, I would say. Spiral could definitely still make it back into the deck, I think. Maybe Deadpool X first 2. We'll see how the skilled defenders are holding up. Another champion I want to rank up is going to be my Sensor Shocker. I do think Shocker is probably still quite useful. Other champions that I have noticed a lot of people use, Count Nefaria. Count Nefaria is doing very, very good job this meta. He's like a solid domino counter and can do like a whole bunch of, you know, finicky and tricky matchups. Bam is still tearing it up defensively as well, absolutely. I've seen some people run Kate as well. Besides that, Sentinel, still quite good in the meta. As I mentioned before, Titania. Atuma, I'm not the biggest fan of Atuma in this meta, but we'll see. I have seen some people use Atuma for sure, though, but yeah, I don't know. With the increased amount of mutants, I just don't think she would do as well. Then, obviously, you can use Elsa as a trap defender again, but I'm personally not running Elsa just because there's a lot of mutant champions currently in the meta, so it's kind of harder to catch people. Arcade is very dangerous in this meta. Arcade I have been hearing about. That is another champion that I might want to try out. I do have Sensor rank 3 unduped somewhere. But yeah, Arcade is definitely more finicky than normal. It would be, and Guardian, because I haven't ranked up my Guardian. You know, he's very popular still. Killmonger is much more dangerous in this meta than he normally is. Killmonger is definitely a bit of a menace in between, you know, him bleeding himself, thus gaining extra power. Then you needing to watch that reverb damage and the conflictor, making the fight generally a bit more, you know, difficult. But yeah, Killmonger is definitely being seen around. There you go. Those are kind of like my main observations and recommendations. Definitely still, you know, will consider some changes and adjustments. Oh, look. Fantastic 4 offer. But there you go. That is update on my deck so far. Let me know who have been your personal MVPs, especially if I haven't mentioned them in the studio. And I will catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the